I'm Emily. Standing outside that fancy restaurant, the winter air biting at my cheeks, I felt a strange sense of calm. Behind me, the laughter from inside had faltered, and for once, I didn't turn back to fix it. It all started with my sister Lily's 35th birthday dinner. My family is part of the upper middle class. My parents, Mr. and Mrs. Thompson, always wanted to maintain a perfect image in the community. Mom is a controlling woman, always focused on appearances and social status. Dad, on the other hand, is a quiet man who usually goes along with Mom's decisions. Lily has always been the apple of my parents' eyes. She has long, flowing red hair and a charismatic personality that draws people in. At every family gathering, someone would say, "Lily's going to be a big shot." And Mom would beam with pride as if it were her own accomplishment. I, on the other hand, was the responsible one. I remember when I was 10, Lily wanted to take piano lessons, and Mom signed her up right away. When I asked if I could join a local coding club, Mom frowned and said, "We can't afford it right now. Maybe you can learn from the library." I spent hours poring over old coding books while Lily practiced the piano under the warm living room lights. As we grew older, the pattern continued. In high school, Lily got all the praise just for being herself. I, however, was given the responsibility of taking care of household chores and helping Lily with her school projects. When she needed money for a new dress for a school dance, I worked part-time at a local bookstore to lend it to her. Mom called it family support, but I felt like I was being erased. College was no different. Mom and Dad paid for Lily's tuition at a prestigious art school and furnished her apartment. I, on the other hand, took out loans to go to a state-run nursing school. I lived in a small, shared apartment that smelled like old books and instant noodles. I worked long night shifts at a local hospital. The patients there were so grateful for my care, more than my own family had ever been. Every time I sent Mom a picture of me in my scrubs, she would reply with a simple "good job" or sometimes nothing at all. Meanwhile, I'd see her posts on social media, bragging about Lily's latest art exhibition. I kept going to family dinners, telling myself that peace was worth the humiliation. But I started noticing the little things. My name was never mentioned in the toasts, and the bill always seemed to find its way to me when the waiter came around. Then came Lily's 35th birthday invitation. It arrived in a velvet-lined envelope with gold-embossed letters. Mom added a note, "It'll be a wonderful night for your sister. Don't be late." No please, no thank you, just an expectation. My boyfriend, Jake, read it over my shoulder and said, "This looks expensive." I forced a laugh, but my stomach tightened. "It always is," I replied. The restaurant was a high-end place. Chandeliers sparkled like diamonds, and the air was filled with the smell of fine wine and fresh flowers. I arrived early, instinctively checking my wallet before walking in. Lily swept in 15 minutes later, wearing a designer dress and flawless makeup. Cameras flashed as she posed for pictures. Mom and Dad entered behind her, Mom glowing with pride and Dad with his usual half-smile. When Mom saw me, she said, "Emily, you look so reliable." Then she turned to Lily, "But Lily, darling, you're a vision." Everyone laughed except me. Dinner began with speeches about Lily's success as an artist. I sat quietly, picking at my food. Every word felt like a knife stabbing at my heart. Jake leaned over and whispered, "Are you okay?" I forced a smile and said, "Just trying to disappear." Then came dessert, a beautiful chocolate cake with edible gold leaf. The waiter approached me with a leather folder and a polite smile. "Miss Emily," he said, placing it beside my plate. At first, I thought it was a mistake. But then I saw Mom's satisfied look. "Go ahead, Emily. It's your sister's big day, and you can handle it," she said softly. I opened the folder and saw the bill, $1,200 before tax. I looked up, and everyone was avoiding my eyes. My throat tightened. "Is this a joke?" I asked. Mom's eyes didn't waver. It's family. We all have our roles. Dad pretended to check his phone, and Lily sipped her champagne. Jake's hand brushed mine under the table. Don't do it, Emily, he whispered. But something inside me snapped. Years of being the responsible one, of swallowing my pride, came to an end. I set the folder down calmly and said, if Lily is your pride, then let your pride pay tonight. The room went silent. You could hear a pin drop. Mom's face stiffened. Don't embarrass us, Emily. I met her eyes and said, I'm not. I'm done trying to win your approval. Lily's perfect smile faltered. Emily, please don't do this here, she said, her voice trembling. I turned to her slowly. Where else, Lily? You've humiliated me in public my whole life. Maybe it's time you feel what that's like. A murmur spread through the table. Mom hissed, sit down. I stood my ground. This isn't about money. It's about all the years of being taken for granted. The balance is overdue. Mom's jaw tightened. You owe this family respect. I laughed softly. Respect is a two-way street. And tonight, mine comes with interest. The waiter hovered awkwardly. Would you like separate checks, ma'am? Mom waved him off. She'll pay. She always does. I looked at the bill one more time. I took out some money, just enough to cover my meal and the service. I closed the folder, slid it towards Mom, and said quietly, that covers what I consumed. Jake stood up, his chair scraping against the marble floor. We're leaving, he said. Mom's voice rose, ungrateful. After all we've done for you. I turned back, calm and unflinching. You didn't raise a daughter. You raised a bank for your pride. A gasp went through the table. Lily's eyes welled up, not out of guilt but embarrassment. The cameras that had been clicking away were now forgotten. I picked up my coat and walked out, my heels clicking against the marble floor. Outside, the cold air hit me like a wake-up call. Jake caught up with me and took my hand. Emily, are you okay? For the first time, I said, I think I might be. The next morning, I woke up to a dozen missed calls from Mom, Dad, and Lily. I didn't answer any of them. I sat at my kitchen counter, sipping cold coffee and replaying the events of the night before. I expected to feel guilty, but instead, I felt a sense of clarity. By noon, the messages had changed. You embarrassed your sister. You humiliated the family. We need to talk. I saved them all as if they were evidence. Jake texted me, you did what everyone else was too scared to do. Don't back down. But I still felt an ache in my heart. After a lifetime of trying to please, breaking the pattern felt like betrayal. That afternoon, the doorbell rang. It was Dad. He looked smaller, his hands stuffed deep in his coat pockets. Can I come in? He asked. We sat at my old, rickety kitchen table. He cleared his throat. You caught your mother off guard. You could have handled it privately. I stared at him. Privately? When she's humiliated me in public for years? He sighed and avoided my eyes. She doesn't mean to be cruel. She just loves differently. I almost laughed. No, Dad. She controls differently. His silence said it all. It was the same silence that had followed me through my childhood, his quiet approval of Mom's unfair treatment. I said softly, you watched her do it. You watched her make me feel small and called it peace. His shoulders slumped. I didn't know how to stop her. I replied, you could have tried. That would have been enough. He looked at his coffee mug. I'm sorry, Emily. I believed him, but apologies couldn't change the past. They could only start a new chapter. The next weekend, Lily texted me, can we talk? We met at a small coffee shop near the hospital where I worked. She arrived wearing oversized sunglasses, trying to hide her face. When she took them off, I saw a hint of shame. "I didn't know it felt like that for you," she said. "Mom said you were just being difficult." I sipped my coffee and said, "It's easy not to notice when the world revolves around you." She fidgeted with her bracelet. "She's been really angry. She says you ruined my birthday." I looked at her steadily. "No, Lily. I ended a bad tradition." "There's a difference." She exhaled shakily. "I never asked them to treat you that way." I replied, "That's true, but you never asked them to stop either." Her eyes filled with tears. I didn't realize it hurt so much. I said, "It's not about the money. It's about the message. Every time I paid, they made me feel like I was worth less. And I believed them until last night." We sat in silence for a long time. Then she said softly, "I want to fix it." I told her, "You can't fix the past, but you can stop repeating it." A week later, Mom called. Her voice was tense. "You embarrassed me in front of everyone." I replied calmly, "I told the truth." "You could have talked to me privately." She said, "Privately never works with you." I countered, "You only listen when there's an audience." She inhaled sharply. "Do you know how ungrateful you sound?" I leaned against the counter. "Do you know how cruel you've been?" There was a long pause. Then she let out a soft, disbelieving laugh. "You think you're the victim?" I smiled faintly. "No. I think I'm the survivor." She said, "You've changed." I simply replied, "Boundaries will do that to a person." And then she hung up. That night, I sat on my balcony, looking at the city lights. The air was cold, but it felt honest. For the first time in a long time, I didn't need anyone to tell me I'd done the right thing. The peace in my heart was stronger than any silence. 2 weeks later, Dad called again. "Your mom's been quiet. She doesn't know how to reach out to you." I said gently, "She doesn't need to. If she ever learns to talk without hurting, I'll be here." He said, "She's proud of you, you know. She just doesn't show it." I replied, "Then she's not really proud. She's proud of the idea of me, not the real me." A few months later, Lily invited me to lunch. She came without makeup, looking tired but real. "I split the check this time," she said with a small smile. When the waiter brought the bill, she took it and gave me half. "Fair," she said simply. In that moment, I saw a glimmer of change. As I walked home that night through the snow, I thought about how sometimes, the most powerful form of revenge is silence. I didn't burn bridges, I just stopped sacrificing myself for a family that didn't appreciate me. When I got home, Jake was waiting with takeout and a warm smile. "So, what's next?" he asked. I smiled back. "Peace. That's next." He raised his glass of water. "To peace that doesn't need permission." I clinked my glass against his. "And to bills that finally belong to the right people." Since then, the phone has been quiet. I've filled my days with work at the hospital, where I'm truly appreciated. I've also started going to therapy. The first session was strange, like opening a box of old memories. The therapist asked, "What do you want now, Emily?" For the first time, I didn't answer with someone else's name. I said, "Peace." Little by little, I've learned to enjoy the quiet. My apartment has become a home. I've planted herbs on the balcony, framed my nursing degree, and started cooking proper meals. Dad calls occasionally, asking about my work and my plants. I don't need apologies anymore. His newfound interest is enough. Lily sends me postcards from her art gigs, writing things like, "I'm learning to be independent." It feels great. One day, a plain envelope arrived in the mail. It was from Mom. The note said, "Dinner, if you're willing, my treat." I smiled but didn't rush to reply. Healing isn't about going back, it's about choosing how to move forward. I placed the note on my fridge next to a picture of Jake and me at a local park. The caption in my head said it all: respect is the price of admission. And I'm finally worth every cent. Some nights, I still think about that dinner, the sparkle of the chandeliers, and the shocked silence after I spoke up. But it doesn't hurt anymore. It's a reminder that sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is say enough. I don't hate my family, but I won't let them take advantage of me anymore. In the space I've created for myself, a new kind of peace has grown, a peace that's not borrowed and doesn't need anyone's permission.